Hi, it's Katie from Katie Cooks and Crafts, and today I'm making Edwart's Apfelwein. This is a simple and straightforward homebrewed hard cider, and this recipe is really popular among homebrewers because it is so simple and easy and it's delicious. I'll put a link to the recipe in the description box if you want to make it for yourself. You'll end up with a slightly fruity, slightly dry, carbonated apple wine, and it's delicious. To make this apple wine, I'm using apple juice. This is just regular old apple juice, 100% juice, no added ingredients. The only added ingredient that is acceptable is ascorbic acid. That's per the recipe. And the recipe I will link in the description box so you can see it for yourself. I'm also using some corn sugar. This is dextrose, and this is just to fortify the sugar to give the yeast more sugar to eat, which will bump up the alcohol content. And my yeast I'm using is this dry wine yeast. And I got this at the Homebrew store. You can get these online as well. So to start, I've already sanitized my carboy. You can see there's still a little bit of the sanitizer in there. This is a no rinse acid sanitizer, so there's a little residue in there. So I'm just going to start by putting the apple juice in the carboy. Okay, so I poured about half of the apple juice into the carboy, and now I'm going to put 1 pound of sugar in here with the apple juice. I have a clog, hold on. Okay, I have a declogger now. I'm just going to rinse this funnel with a little bit more juice. And shake this up to dissolve the corn sugar. And the corn sugar is pretty fine, so it dissolves pretty easily. Okay, now this goes into the carboy with the other apple juice. Now we're going to repeat that process again to put another pound of corn sugar in. And then all the rest of the juice, except for the last quart, goes into the carboy. Now my carboy is filled most of the way up, and you can see all these bubbles. That's from the sanitizing solution. So I just wrap this towel around to catch the bubbles. As the juice is poured in, it will displace the bubbles up and out. So I just put this around the neck to catch that so it doesn't make a mess all over my floor and my chair. And now I'm going to add the yeast. So I'm just going to sprinkle that in the top through the funnel. And then rinse it through the funnel with the last little bit of the juice. Alright, so that's filled most of the way up, and there's about that much of my 5th gallon of juice. Just clean up this mess, and then I'm going to cap it with an airlock. It's been about 18 hours and it's definitely fermenting. I don't know if you can see the bubbles in the neck there. And I probably filled this a little too full, and it has pushed the apple juice up into the airlock. So there you saw a bubble. It means it's working, and I'm just going to take this airlock and clean it out, put some fresh sanitizing solution in it, and let it continue to ferment. So this is day 2. Still bubbling like mad. can see I took quite a bit of the juice out. I used my siphon and took it out, cleared out the whole neck. It had bubbled up into the airlock. A couple times I switched it out. It still went up in there, and that defeats the purpose of the airlock. So I cleaned that all out. I took some out, and I put a clean airlock with clean sanitizing solution. And it is looking good. So it's been about a week, and the fermentation has really started to settle down a little bit. It's still bubbling away. It's just not as vigorous as it was in the first day or two. But it's bubbling there, and the airlock is bubbling, and it's looking good. One thing I will mention is there is a bit of an aroma, kind of like a rotten fruit aroma, and it's a little bit unpleasant. I have this here in my kitchen just so I can keep an eye on it. I have this towel that I pull up and clip around it to keep the light out, but I wanted to be able to keep an eye on it. But the aroma is getting to be a bit much since we eat dinner right here. So I think I'm going to move this downstairs. That's usually where my husband ferments his beer anyway. So I'm going to move it downstairs where it's dark and out of the way anyway. I ferment things on my counter all the time, like my veggies and my kombucha. And I don't know if it's because this is a larger scale, but the thought of having this stink up my kitchen for 6 weeks is a bit much. So I'm going to go ahead and move this downstairs, and I'll check on it again in another week or two. This is what the apple wine looks like after about 4 weeks. I think it stopped bubbling around week 3. The recipe says for it to go for about 6 weeks or more, so I'm just going to let it sit down here in my laundry room for a few more weeks, and then I will bottle it up. This is what the apple wine looks like after about 8 weeks, and there's still a few little teeny tiny bubbles that are rising to the surface occasionally, just some natural effervescent. And then down at the bottom is some sediment where the yeast has fallen out of suspension. So it has cleared up quite a bit. It's not as cloudy as it was when it was vigorously bubbling. So we're going to go ahead and bottle this today, and I'm going to carbonate it. So to carbonate it, I'm just going to add some additional corn sugar that the yeast in suspension will eat and convert it to carbon dioxide, and that's where the bubbles come from. First I need to dissolve the priming sugar in some hot water. And then let it cool. While the corn sugar is cooling a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and sanitize my bottles. So using this bottle tree, you may have seen this in my pumpkin beer video. I'm going to go ahead and clean the inside of all of my beer bottles. Once the corn sugar is cooled, I'm going to add it to the bottling bucket as I transfer the apple wine from the carboy into the bottling bucket. So as it stirs and churns, it'll mix the corn sugar in with it. Once all the apple wine is in the bottling bucket, then I'm just going to attach the bottling wand and fill my bottles. Then each bottle gets capped with a wing capper, and the bottles just need to condition for about 2 weeks to carbonate. Then they'll be ready to drink. Okay, so it's time for a taste test. And I have my apple wine, and it smells really good. It smells very appley, but it's not like hard ciders that you might have had before. It's more of a wine, but it's really delicious, and it's so bubbly. It's really good for holidays. I wanted to make this for Christmas or New Year's, but I didn't get around till later. But it ages pretty well from what I hear, so I can always keep it for next holiday season, or I can just make another batch. So, bottoms up. It's really good. You should make it. And it's simple. And if you don't want to do a big 5-gallon batch, you can make 1 gallon too. So, I hope you liked the video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I'll probably be doing a few more homebrew videos. And thank you so much for watching.